Hello everyone and welcome back to this brand new survival game series. In part 1 of this series, we're going to be taking a look at how to make a tree break-in system. And you want to have access to all of my project files, including the one you're watching right now. That includes all of these assets you see right here, all of the scripts of the game, and this huge map. They will all be available on my Patreon in the $10 tier. By the way, all of these assets and the map are made by willozzy. Follow him on Twitter at willozzy1. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do is make a system for breaking trees. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to add a folder inside of the workspace, and it's going to be called breakable trees. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to select a random tree. I'm going to go with this one, and I'm going to duplicate it, and I'm going to drag it over here. Now I'm going to rename it to pine tree, and it's going to have, okay, so I'm going to set this up by selecting the trunk. So for me it's going to be this, and I'm going to just rename it to trunk, and this is going to be leaves. And what I'm going to do is select my pine tree model, and I'm going to go to primary part, click on that, and select the trunk. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to add a weld constraint to the trunk, and whenever you add a weld constraint, set part 0 to be the trunk itself and part 1 to be a part from the tree. Now if you have another part in your tree, let's say you have 2 leaves for example, you're going to duplicate this weld constraint and you're going to set part 1 to be the second leaves. And just do that every time you just keep on doing that basically. Okay, so what I'm going to do now is put this back, so part 1 will be the leaves, and I'm going to have a init value, and it's going to be called health, and I'm going to duplicate it, and I'm going to call the duplicated one max health, or okay, so max health. I kind of messed up, health, and then I'm going to select both of them, and I'm going to set their values to how much health you want your pine tree to have. So for me it's going to be 100. Now I'm going to select this pine tree, and I'm going to drag it inside of the breakable trees folder. The next thing I'm going to do is make sure that the trunk or your primary part is anchored, and make sure that the other parts that are welded to it are not anchored. And can collide, of course, that's going to be checked. Or maybe not. And what I'm going to do next is I'm going to, okay, so I'm going to get a rock model. So I have this mesh right here of a rock, so I'm going to duplicate it, and I'm going to rename it to handle. And I'm going to add a tool to the workspace, so I'm going to add a tool, and it's going to be called rock. And then I'm going to select the handle, and I'm going to drag it inside of the rock that we just created. So drag it in here, and what I'm going to do is make sure that anchored is unchecked and that can collide is also unchecked, and I'm going to get rid of this touch thing. And what I'm going to do next is, okay, so we have this right here. I'm going to use a plugin called tool grip editor. So just go to plugins, tool grip editor. I'm going to leave a link to this plugin in the description. I'm pretty sure it's paid though, so I'm not going to use it, but this should work. Okay, so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to drag this inside of starter player, or actually starter pack, sorry. And I'm going to add a local script to it. So add a local script, and I'm going to rename it to break tree client. And then what I'm going to do, or actually just rename it to rock client. And what we're going to do in this script is get a replicated storage. So local replicated storage is equal to game get service replicated storage. And then we're going to get tween service. So tween service is equal to game get service tween service. And then what I'm going to do is get the player. So local player is equal to game dot players dot local player. So we got the player. Now we need to get the player's character. So I'm going to create another variable called character. So local character is equal to player.character, but if the character is not loaded, it might error. So, or player.character added, wait. Now, what I'm gonna do is I'm going to create a reference to our tool. So local tool is equal to script.parent. And then we're gonna create a damage variable. So how much damage we want this to deal. So for me, it's going to be 10. And we're gonna have okay, that's all we're gonna do for now. And tool.activated. So this event, we're gonna create an event called tool.activated called connect function. And what this does is it gets called every time you click with your tool. So whenever we activate it, what we're gonna do is check if the character is there and the character's primary part is also there. Then what we're gonna do is check if not debounce. So we're gonna create a debounce so that you don't just spam the tool. So local debounce is equal to false. Now whenever we click the tool, we want to check if debounce is equal to true, to false, is equal to false. Then, so if the debounce is equal to false, then we're gonna set the debounce to true. So now this will not run until we set the debounce back to false. So what I'm gonna do is I'm going to exit the script and I'm going to create an animation. So I'm going to go to the avatar tab and rig builder R15 rig, and I'm just gonna spawn in a rig. Now what I'm gonna do is I'm just going to go to the animation editor plugin, and I'm going to select this rig and I'm going to create a new animation. And what I'm gonna do is, okay, so this is going to be a swinging animation. So I'm just going to go up here, I'm gonna do this, and after this it's going to be back to that. So I think this is good enough, but I think it should be a bit longer. So let's see if this is gonna work. Something like this. Yeah, I think this is good enough. Now what I'm gonna do is press the 3 dots over here and just publish to Roblox. So click these 3 dots and it should show a tab. Now when that tab shows up, press publish to Roblox. And what should happen is it's going to give you a menu where you can choose the title. So just name it to swing or whatever you want and press submit. And then it's going to give you a menu. Actually, I'm going to show you what this menu is. So I'm just going to go here. And as you can see, it's going to show you this menu, and just whenever it shows this ID, just copy it. So just press this and it's going to copy it. Now just press close, and I'm going to go back into only recording the studio tab. And now what you're gonna do is add an animation to the rock, to the tool. So add an animation and call it swing, and set its animation ID to the number that you just copied. Now we're gonna go back to this script, and what we're gonna do is get the humanoid of the player. So each character has this thing called the humanoid in it, and what this does is it's basically the character itself, and it has a lot of properties like platform stand, health, and stuff. And this is how you can control the player, and you can also load animations to it. So local humanoid is equal to character.humanoid. So if humanoid, actually character colon find first child humanoid, so that this does not error. So colon find first child humanoid. And if humanoid, so if the humanoid is in fact there, then what we're gonna do is, okay, so if the humanoid is there, then we're gonna load this swing animation. So local swing. So we're gonna load in this swing animation. So local swing is equal to humanoid the animator. So each humanoid has an animator in it where you can load the animation. Can load animation, and that's going to take a script or a tool dot swing. And then what we're gonna do is swing play. So what I'm gonna do now is make sure that the animation, okay, so I forgot to do something. Go back to your animation. I'm gonna show everything again. I'm gonna go to OBS and I'm gonna do this. So go to your animation editor again and import. So import from Roblox and just select your swing animation and go to the 3 dots over here and set animation priority to action, and then you can just publish it to Roblox again, override existing asset, and just select your swing animation. It should still be the same ID, so just go back to your client script. And what I'm going to do after playing this is I'm going to have... Okay, so I forgot to go back into only recording studio. And what I'm going to do is have a debounce duration variable, and it's going to be it's going to be 1 second. So task.wait. So after doing this, what we need to do is we're gonna have a variable up here, swing in is equal to true, to false. And whenever you do this, swing in is going to be swing in, so swing in is equal to true. And then what we're gonna do is task.wait debounce duration. And then so task.wait debounce duration, swing in, it's not swing, is equal to false, and debounce is equal to false. So if you go ahead and play the game now, you should in fact be able to swing your rock whenever you click it. So if I equip my tool and if I swing, as you can see, it does work. And it does have a cooldown, so I can't just spam it. As you can see, I'm just spamming it right now, and it does not spam, which is great. So what we're gonna do now is destroy a tree. So tool, hand. So we're gonna check. Okay, so let me explain how this is gonna work. So whenever you swing your sword, so your rock, sorry, we're gonna check if you are actually clicking it. So if you actually clicked it, and we're gonna check what's touching the handle. So we're gonna check if it's touching a tree, then we're gonna lower the damage from that tree. So tool.handle.touched, connect function, and that's going to be hit. And what I'm gonna do is check if hit, so if it touched, for example, if it touched the tree trunk or the tree leaf, so if hit.parent, so if it touched a part of the tree, then hit.parent is going to be the pine tree. So hit.parent, but we want to check if it's parented to the breakable trees folder. So we're gonna add another .parent. So if hit.parent.parent, so now we have the breakable trees folder. .name is equal to breakable trees. Then well, we know that it's in fact a tree that we can break. So what we're gonna do is if not debounce tree, so we're gonna have another debounce. So local debounce tree is equal to false, and we're gonna check if not. So if debounce a tree is equal to false, then local tree, we're gonna get the tree. So the tree is going to be hit.parent, because hit.parent.parent is the breakable trees, then hit.parent is going to be the actual tree. So local tree, then what we're gonna do is debounce tree is equal to true, and we're gonna lower the tree's health value. So to do that, it's very simple. What we're gonna do is instead of doing tree.health.value is equal to tree.health.value minus the damage that we have, well, what we're gonna do, so what if your tree's health is 10 and your damage is 15? Well, it's going to be -5, and we do not want negative numbers. So we're gonna use math.max. So tree.health.value is equal to, and math.max, I'm gonna explain what this does. So this might look complicated, but trust me, it's really simple. So tree.health.value minus damage, comma 0. So what we're doing is, so math.max returns the maximum value among the numbers passed to the function. So if tree.health.value minus damage is equal to a negative number, so -10, for example, well, it's going to limit it to 0 because we have it set to 0 right here. And if the tree's damage is, for example, 100, the tree's health is, for example, 100, and it lowers it by 10, well, what's gonna happen is it's going to take the biggest number in here, which is this. So it's going to be 90. It's not going to be 0. So it's going to, well, set the health value to 90. I hope that makes sense. And now what we're going to do is we need to shake the tree using a tween whenever you punch the tree with your rock. So what we're going to do is, okay, so local tree tween is equal to tween service colon create. So we're gonna create a brand new tween, and it's going to take tree.primary part, comma, and tween info dot new, and it's going to be 0.1, comma enum.isInStyle.sign or .linear, comma enum.isInDirection.out, comma, and 0. So we don't want it to repeat any more times, so just 0. And we do want it to reverse, so true. Okay, so comma, I'm gonna zoom out a bit so that I can see what I'm doing. And what I'm gonna do is, so we wanna set its C frame. So we're gonna set its C frame. By the way, C frame is a combination of position and orientation. So C frame is equal to, so we're gonna set its C frame to the tree's primary part dot C frame, so its original C frame, primary part dot C frame, and we're gonna multiply that by, okay, so C frame dot angles and math.rad. So math.rad just converts any number that you give it, so in degrees, to radians, which is what C-frame dot angles takes. So we need a random x value and a random z value. So to do that, I'm gonna show you how to do this. So you might think that we can just, okay, so actually we need to do this actually. So we're gonna so local random is equal to random.new. Don't worry about this right now, but what we're gonna do now, you might think that we want to generate a number from minus 5 to 0. Minus 0.5 to 0.5. Now you might think that we can just do this random colon next number, and from minus 0.5 to 0.5, but what this might do is return 0 or minus 0.1, which is a value that's way too small. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna create a table. So local random table, so local random table is equal to, and we're gonna create just a table, and this table is going to contain, so random colon next number and 0.1, 0.5. Now random colon next number just generates a random number between the two values that you give it. So this is going to be what's going to be generated if we chose a positive number, comma, and random colon next number, and this time from minus 0.5 to minus 0.1. Now 0.5 minus 0.5 is, okay, so that should work. Okay, that should actually work. Now what we need to do is choose a random thing from this table. So we either want this or this. So that's going to define whether or not our x and z values are going to be positive or not. So local x is equal to, and the math.random, so from 1, actually, sorry, so random table, square brackets, math.random from 1 to 2. So we have 2 items in our table, so we're going to go from 1 to 2. And we just chose a random number between 0.1 or 0.5, or a random number between minus 0.5 and minus 0.1. Okay, so that should give us a random number. Now we need to get the z. So local z is equal to, same thing, just copy this, paste it in here, and what I'm gonna do, actually, okay, so I think, okay, so what I'm gonna do is set our z value just to a random number from 1 to 2. So if z is equal to 1, then what we're gonna do is z is going to be x. Else z is going to be negative x. So what this is going to do is it's going to be generating a random number from 1 to 2. So if it chose 1, then we're gonna set z to be x. If it's not 1, then we're gonna choose a negative x. And the reason why we are doing that is just to make it a bit more random, so it doesn't just take the exact same. So z does not end up to just be x. And yeah, that's about it. Now what I'm gonna do in here is multiply this by cframe.angles math.rad, and we're gonna choose x multiplied by 10, comma 0, comma math.rad z multiplied by 10. So this should work. Now we're gonna move a bit, and what I'm gonna do is I'm going to leave this cframe.angles. Actually, to make this a bit more clear to see, I'm actually going to do this. So I'm going to put a space right here. Actually, never mind. I'm just going to do this. So this is the cframe.angles. This is the first bracket, so we want to go after this. So we're gonna add vector3.new x, comma 0, comma z. Okay, so this should work. Now what we're gonna do is play this tween. So I'm just going to go here and zoom in again and tree tween, colon play. Now what I'm gonna do is check if the tree's health. So if tree.health.value is equal to 0, then we're gonna fade the tree. So local fade tween is equal to tween service colon create, and tree.primary part.primary. Actually, I'm gonna loop through. So we're gonna loop through every single part of the tree. So for underscore comma v in pairs, 3 in pairs, tree colon get children do. If v colon is a base part, then tween service colon create v comma tween info dot new 0.5 comma transparency is equal to 1, and colon play. And after 0.5 seconds, what we're gonna do is we are just going to set. So we're gonna set. We're gonna destroy the tree. So tree colon destroy. Now that we have destroyed the tree, we're gonna wait 1 second, and Debounce tree will be set to false. And I'm going to play the game and see if this works. So if I go ahead and view my output, actually I'm just going to go ahead and just hit, what is this? What? Okay, so I'm just going to go here and hit the tree, and as you can see, it has a nice smooth little animation. Now you can mess around with this to make it a bit more exaggerated, but I'm not gonna do that because I do think that this is good enough. Now what I'm gonna do is just check. I'm just gonna check the health, so it's 10, and if I press it, as you can see now it's 0 and it destroys it. So what we're gonna do next is just I'm going to reduce this to 0.7, so the debounce duration. I'm going to scroll down here and I'm going to change this to debounce duration. And we're gonna play this again and we're gonna see if this is gonna work. Oh, okay, so what I just realized is that you can just hit it without even having to click. And that's very, very simple, because all we need to do in here is check and swinging. So we are also checking if we are swinging, and this should now work. Okay, so I'm going to go back here. And I'm going to click on this, and as you can see now, it only does it when we are actually swinging this. And when it reaches 0, it should make the tree disappear. Now what I'm gonna do is I'm going to create our main server script. So I'm going to scroll down to the server script service, and I'm going to add a script, and it's going to be called main server. Now in this main server script, we're gonna get players is equal to game get service players. The next thing we're gonna do is players.player added connect function player. Okay, so in this main server script, we're gonna have a folder, and it's going to be called player data. And inside of that player data folder, we're gonna have a folder called materials. So for script. Okay, so for underscore v in pairs script.player data get children do v clone dot parent is equal to player. So inside of that materials folder, we're gonna have every single material that we have. So I want wood, so I'm going to add an int value, and it's going to be called wood. And this is going to determine how much wood we have. Okay, so now if you go ahead and play the game, what's going to happen is whenever you play the game, you should have, each player is going to have a folder inside of the player, and it's going to be called materials, and it's going to have how much wood we have. Now what we need to do is make it so that when you break a tree, you can actually get wood. But what I'm gonna do is leave that for the next tutorial, so that we have a nice wood dropping animation, so that wood drops, and then you can collect it if you get close to it, and then it's going to give you wood. So I think that's what we're gonna do, and I'm going to leave that for the next tutorial. So if you find this video helpful, please subscribe, like the video, share it with your friends, and I'll see you all in the next video. Bye!